Hello, this is Gary Downard, and welcome to GoldenRecovers.com. In today's episode, we're going to take a look at the lost treasure of Poker Flat. Poker Flat was in the Northern California Mother Lode Gold District. Today, Poker Flat is a ghost town, but back during the gold rush, there were only 12 people living in the town, but there were 400 miners living within 2 miles of town. The town was situated in the California mountain region, and there was so little room in between the ridges that it was built between that there was barely enough room for a street to run between the buildings on both sides of the street. The town was really tiny, but because of those 400 miners that lived not too far away, it did have the normal number of stores. It had saloons, and shopkeepers had their shops open, the general store, those types of businesses were there in Poker Flat. And the town was less than 20 miles from Downeyville, so it probably got a little bit of support from the people living in that area as well. Poker Flat never did become a normal gold area boom town like Downeyville did and a lot of others, because most of the miners were going to Downeyville for entertainment, drinks, dances, that type of thing. Now, most of the shopkeepers there, though, did a good business, not only with those 400 miners that lived close to town, but also some passerbys and people traveling through the California gold fields. They'd stop on their way and maybe buy something there. So some of the shopkeepers did end up earning a pretty good amount of money. Now, if you try to go to Poker Flat, trying to get to it is just as dangerous and just as tough as it was back in the 1800s. There's what can barely be called a road. It's not even hardly a road, and it's very steep down the mountainside, so you have to be real careful if you're going to go there and try to visit the Poker Flat area. Of course, there were a handful of prospectors that struck it rich in that area, and the mine owners, they could become quite wealthy, and the storekeepers as well built up a lot of wealth, but there weren't any banks right there in Poker Flat, and that's what interests us for the treasure hunting perspective. What did those people do with their money? What did the shopkeepers do with their money? One storekeeper that built up a lot of wealth was Jerome Peyron, and the people in the area knew that he buried his money. He was seen going into the hills behind his store on a lot of occasions burying his money. Now, nobody saw him bury money, but they did see him always taking those trips into those hills behind his store. Some Mexican bandits heard word of the rumors of his gold that he was burying, and they came and tried to force him to tell where it was. He wouldn't tell, and they murdered him. Of course, the people in the area tried to find his money. They did look for it once he was killed. They never found it. They didn't really know, couldn't pin down the location close enough to really know where to look very well, other than just walking through those hills behind his store. To this day, his money has never been found. Nobody knows how much money that he buried, but it would have been pretty substantial.
About here? I'd like to look a little longer. My scalp, mane, is just fine where it is.
You still worried about the Indians? Come on, Pokey. Bring the Geiger counter and follow us.
What good would this old Geiger counter do against those savages?
Most likely, there's a pretty big fortune in gold hidden in those hills behind Mr. Peyron's store. And that concludes this episode of The Lost Treasure of Poker Flat. Hope you enjoyed it.